Alex had always been a quiet observer, someone who preferred watching the world unfold rather than rushing to take part. At 22, he lived in a small apartment in a neighborhood that was always buzzing with the low hum of every day. Life neighbors talking across fences. Children laughing in the distance, the occasional dog barking as if calling the world's attention to itself. Yet, despite the constant movement around him, Alex often felt like a spectator in his own life. He walked home that Friday evening under a sky brushed with shades of orange and violet, the fading sunlight reflecting off puddles left from the afternoon rain. His backpack swung lazily against his side, a reminder of the long week he had just endured at college. Classes had been tiring, deadlines relentless, and the constant pressure of wanting to be more, do more, weighed heavily on him. He loved learning, and he loved the people in his life, but a quiet longing lingered. One he didn't share with anyone. Alex's apartment was modest, a small living room with a sofa that had seen better days, a kitchen table that often held unfinished projects, and a bookshelf crowded with books that smelled faintly of old paper and dreams. He often spent evenings alone scrolling through social media, watching stories of friends and strangers alike, wondering why life sometimes felt fuller for everyone else than it did for him. Despite the solitude, there was a part of Alex that held on to hope. A hope that life had more in store than routines and responsibilities. He didn't know what form it would take, maybe a new friendship, a small adventure, or a simple moment that would make his heart skip in surprise. That hope kept him moving forward, even on the loneliest nights. As he reached the corner of his street, his phone buzzed. He glanced down and saw a message from Jake, his longtime friend since high school. "Hey Alex, come over tonight. My mom's making dinner, and it'd be great if you joined us." Alex stared at the message for a moment, hesitating. Jake's mom, Laura, was someone he had known casually for years, always kind, always welcoming. But there was something about her presence that lingered in his thoughts in a way no one else's did. Not in a romantic way, at least. Not like the movies, but in the sense that she carried a warmth and a life experience that seemed so rare, so genuine. Her laughter could fill a room without trying. Her stories, even brief ones, made the ordinary feel magical. He typed a quick reply, "Sure, I'll be there in 20 minutes." As he walked the remaining blocks to Jake's house, Alex's mind wandered. He wondered if tonight would be like any other, just a casual dinner, friendly chatter, and the usual jokes. Or if somehow it might be different. The air felt heavier with anticipation, as if the evening itself was aware of the possibilities it might hold. When he arrived, the house glowed warmly against the darkening sky. Smoke drifted faintly from the chimney, carrying the comforting scent of baked bread. He hesitated at the door, taking a deep breath, reminding himself that it was just dinner, just an ordinary evening. But when Laura opened the door, smiling warmly, the world seemed to pause for a moment. Her eyes crinkled at the corners as she greeted him. "Alex, I'm so glad you came," she said, her voice a gentle melody that seemed to reach past his usual reservations. "Thanks for having me," Alex replied, feeling a surprising ease settle over him, the warmth of the home, the soft chatter from the kitchen where Jake was already unpacking groceries, and the faint aroma of cinnamon and roasted vegetables immediately enveloped him. It was ordinary, yes, but in the most comforting way. It was a moment that whispered to him that life sometimes offered simple joys when least expected. As he stepped inside, Alex felt that subtle shift, the one that happens before an ordinary night becomes memorable. He couldn't see it yet, but he felt it in his chest, a small flutter of curiosity, a quiet hope that tonight might bring more than just a casual visit. Something about Laura's presence, the way she moved through her home with effortless grace, made him wonder what stories this night might hold. And so, as Alex settled onto the sofa with a cup of tea that Laura had thoughtfully prepared, he allowed himself to linger in the moment, aware of the gentle magic that sometimes comes without warning. He didn't know what the night would bring, but deep down, he knew it might be one he would never forget, not because of grand gestures, but because of the quiet, heartfelt connection that awaited him just beyond the ordinary. The rain began to tap softly against the windows, a lullaby for the evening, and Alex leaned back, sipping his tea. Somewhere in the warmth of the room, a story was quietly beginning. A story that would change the way he remembered ordinary nights forever. And in that gentle, unassuming moment, the hook was set, the kind that pulls at the heart, promising discovery, laughter, and the bittersweet beauty of connection. Alex settled into the warmth of Jake's living room, the soft glow of the lamp casting gentle shadows across the walls. The faint aroma of cinnamon and baked bread still lingered, wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. Yet as he sipped his tea, his thoughts drifted. He remembered the first time he had met Laura, not in any formal way, but through countless small moments over the years. It had been during a neighborhood barbecue when he was 16. Alex, shy and awkward as ever, had been unsure where to stand or what to say. Laura had noticed him lingering near the edge of the yard, so she had walked over with a plate of cookies, her smile warm and effortless. "Hey, Alex," she had said, placing the plate gently in his hands. "Don't just stand there, come join us." It was such a simple gesture, but it had stuck with him. It wasn't just the cookies, though. They had been delicious. It was the kindness behind the act. The way she had noticed someone who might otherwise have faded into the background. In that small moment, Alex had felt a spark of belonging he rarely experienced. Over the years, there have been more small moments like that. Laura asking how school was going, offering advice when Alex struggled with tough choices, or sharing a laugh when his jokes didn't land quite right. There was a quiet patience in her, an understanding that didn't demand anything in return. And with every encounter, Alex felt a subtle warmth growing in his chest, a connection that neither of them had fully acknowledged. And perhaps neither had dared to name. He remembered a rainy afternoon when Jake had invited him over to study. Alex had been frustrated with a particularly difficult assignment, and Laura had come in with a cup of hot chocolate, setting it on the table with a smile. "Sometimes all you need is a little sweetness," she had said, and they had laughed together at his groans of exasperation. The memory was so vivid that Alex could almost smell the chocolate again, and he realized how often these small, quiet acts had left impressions deeper than he had expected. Even now, as he looked around the living room, Alex noticed the subtle ways Laura's personality filled the space. The photographs on the walls, each one carefully chosen and framed, told stories of family trips, friends gathered, and moments frozen in time. He could see her joy, her love, her quiet strength in every corner. And yet, despite all these shared memories and moments of closeness, there was always a distance between them, not physical, but emotional. A space defined by respect, circumstance, and unspoken boundaries. Alex had often wondered why. He admired her deeply, more than he had ever allowed himself to admit. And yet, there was never a word spoken, never a hint that their connection went beyond friendship. Life had its rules, its delicate lines, and somehow they had always stayed on their respective sides. Jake, oblivious to the weight of these past moments, excused himself to make a phone call, leaving Alex and Laura alone in the living room. The quiet felt different, now heavier with unspoken thoughts, yet lighter in its familiarity. Alex noticed her hand brushing against a stack of books on the table, her movements calm and deliberate. The soft rustle of pages, like a gentle reminder of the years that had passed. "You've always had a way of making small things feel important," Alex said, his voice quiet, almost tentative. Laura looked up, her eyes softening as she studied him. "I think everyone deserves to feel noticed." "Alex," she replied gently, "sometimes life is too busy for people to see the little things, but those little things, they matter." He nodded, remembering every little gesture, every quiet word of encouragement, every shared smile that had slowly built the invisible bridge between them. "You always made me feel like I mattered," he admitted, his words catching slightly in his throat. Laura's smile lingered, thoughtful, almost wistful. "And you've always reminded me why those small moments are worth it," she said softly. There was a pause, filled with the quiet music of the rain tapping against the window. Alex felt a strange mixture of nostalgia and longing, a bittersweet feeling that both comforted and unsettled him. He realized how much he had missed these simple connections, the ease of sitting with someone who understood him without needing grand gestures or explanations. "I Never thought I'd feel this. Understood by anyone? Alex confessed, his gaze fixed on the soft shadows dancing across the floor. Laura's voice was gentle, almost a whisper, yet it carried the weight of shared history. Sometimes the people who understand us best are the ones who quietly walk beside us, not making a fuss, just being there. Alex smiled softly, feeling a warmth bloom in his chest. It wasn't romantic in the dramatic sense. There were no fireworks or declarations, but his hotel room was quiet now. The soft hum of the city outside, their window blending with the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. Liam and Evelyn had spent hours wrapped in nostalgia, their conversation a delicate mix of laughter and shared recollections. Yet, as the evening deepened, subtle shift filled the air, a feeling neither of them could quite name. But both sensed it began with a simple coincidence. A sudden flicker of the overhead light made Evelyn reach up instinctively, brushing it as if to steady it. Liam chuckled softly. "Old buildings have their quirks," he said. "Maybe the hotel wanted to remind us that we're awake." Evelyn smiled, her eyes glimmering in the soft light. "Or maybe it's a little nudge from fate," she said quietly. Her voice carried a gentle seriousness that made Liam pause. There was something in the way she looked at him, something that went beyond words, quiet recognition of shared time, shared history, and perhaps a connection waiting to be rediscovered. He realized in that moment how much he had missed noticing these little things about her. The tilt of her head when she spoke, the subtle warmth in her expression, the way her presence could fill a room without effort. And though it had been years since they had spent this kind of uninterrupted time together, he felt a sudden closeness, as if the years of distance had never existed at all. A small breeze drifted in from the slightly open window, carrying with it the faint scent of rain from earlier in the evening. Liam pulled his chair closer, drawn instinctively to sit beside her. Evelyn didn't protest. Instead, she handed him her cup of tea with a small, knowing smile. Their fingers brushed briefly as he accepted it, a tiny contact, yet one that seemed to carry the weight of unspoken understanding. "You know," Evelyn began softly, "it's funny how life brings us moments like this. We go years thinking we're too busy, too separate, or too different. And then, something as simple as a night at a hotel can make the world feel right again." Liam felt a lump in his throat. He nodded, unsure how to put into words the mixture of gratitude, warmth, and subtle longing that had taken root in him. "I think I've needed this more than I realized," he admitted. "Not just to spend time with you, but to remember what it feels like to be connected." Evelyn's eyes softened. Connection isn't something you force. It comes when you allow yourself to be present, to listen, and to feel. And sometimes it's the little coincidences that remind us how close we really are. They sat in silence for a few moments, watching the city below. The lights twinkled like tiny stars, reflections of a life moving fast and wide, while inside their room, time seemed to slow. Liam remembered the trips, the laughter, and even the quiet disappointments they had shared in the past. Those memories had built a bridge, and tonight, it seemed as though fate was guiding them across it, one step at a time. A sudden sound from the hallway made them both glance toward the door, a soft knock, barely audible. Evelyn rose slowly, her movements graceful yet deliberate, and opened it to find a hotel staff member delivering a small, complimentary fruit basket. "For you both," the attendant said politely, then departed. Liam laughed quietly. "See, even the hotel knows tonight is special." Evelyn chuckled, accepting the basket. "Or maybe it's the universe reminding us that joy often comes in unexpected ways." As they arranged the fruit on the small table, their hands met again, lingering just slightly longer this time. Liam felt a warmth spread through him, a deep, mature emotion that was neither romantic in a conventional sense nor fleeting. It was respect, admiration, and the profound recognition of someone who had shaped his life in countless ways. "You've always had a way of seeing things that I miss noticing in the rush of life," Liam said quietly. "I think that's why being here with you feels different, important." Evelyn smiled, a mixture of pride and affection in her expression. "I've always seen you, Liam. Maybe we just needed the world to slow down long enough for you to notice it too." There was a pause, a moment of stillness where neither spoke. Yet both felt the intensity of emotion in the room. It wasn't a dramatic confession or a declaration. It was a quiet acknowledgement of the bond they had, Kate, a connection that had endured distance, years, and unspoken words. And somehow the gentle unfolding of the night had reignited it, lighting up the space between them with warmth and understanding. Liam leaned back slightly, taking in the scene, the soft glow of the lamps, the twinkle of city lights through the window, and Evelyn's serene smile. The night had transformed from a simple visit into something profound, a shared experience that would linger in memory long after it ended. As the clock ticked onward, they spoke of small, ordinary things, books they wanted to read, movies they had enjoyed, plans they might make in the future. But beneath the surface of casual conversation, an emotional spark had ignited, subtle yet undeniable. It was in the way they listened, the way they smiled, the quiet gestures that spoke louder than words ever could. And as Liam sipped his tea, watching Evelyn's eyes reflect the city lights, he realized that this night, simple as it seemed, had the power to change everything. Not in a dramatic, overt way, but in the quiet, tender moments that reminded them of who they were and how much they meant to each other, for the first time in a long while. Liam felt truly present. He felt connected not just to the past, but to the present moment and the woman who had always been a constant in his life. And though the night was far from over, he knew this was a memory they would carry forever. Quiet miracle of coincidence, fate, and the enduring power of emotional connection. The hotel room had grown quieter as the night deepened. Outside, the city lights flickered like distant stars, casting long shadows across the walls. Liam and Evelyn sat together near the window, sipping the last of their tea, their silence more meaningful than any words could have been. It was in that quiet that the unspoken truths of years past began to surface, not in sudden declarations, but in glances, pauses, and the subtle weight of memories long kept hidden. Liam found himself watching Evelyn's face, noticing the soft curve of her smile, the lines around her eyes that told stories of laughter, worry, and enduring care. He realized that he had always been drawn to her, not in the ordinary sense, but in a deep, heartfelt way that had shaped his life more than he had ever admitted, even to himself. Evelyn's gaze met his, and for a moment, the world outside seemed to vanish. She had always known him better than anyone else, yet there were things neither had said aloud. The quiet ache of missed opportunities, the weight of things left unsaid, hovered in the air between them. "I sometimes wonder," Evelyn began, her voice soft and deliberate, "how much of life we let pass without truly speaking our hearts. How many moments slip away because we're afraid of saying too much, or saying too little." Liam swallowed hard. Her words struck him, resonating with a longing he had felt but never named. "I think sometimes we wait too long to express what matters," he said quietly, "and by the time we realize it, the moment has passed. But tonight feels different. It feels like we can finally just be honest, even in the quietest way." Evelyn nodded, her fingers brushing the edge of her teacup, hesitant yet deliberate. "There are feelings I've carried for years," she admitted. "Things I've never spoken because I thought they might change the way we see each other. And yet, here we are. And somehow it feels safe to let them be acknowledged, even if only in thought." Liam's chest tightened. He understood exactly what she meant, the unspoken bond that had always existed. The love, care, and admiration that had been carefully hidden beneath the surface. He had felt it too, this quiet tug of connection that had always guided him toward her. Even when life's demands had pulled them apart, for a moment neither spoke. The silence was filled with the gentle rhythm of their breathing and the distant hum of the city. Yet in that stillness, the emotions between them were more alive than ever. Longing and hesitation intertwined, creating a tension that was palpable, yet entirely appropriate, a testament to the depth of their bond and the maturity of their feelings. "I've always admired your strength," Liam said finally, his voice low but steady. Even when I didn't say it. Even when I was too caught up in my own world to notice how much you shaped mine. You've been constant, steady, patient. And I think that's why this night, why this moment, means so much. Evelyn's eyes glistened, reflecting the soft light of the lamps. And I've always known you, Liam, more than anyone else. I've watched you grow, stumble, succeed. And even when I couldn't guide you, I cared. I always cared. Maybe too quietly, maybe too carefully, but it was always there. Liam felt a warmth spread through him, a gentle, almost overwhelming emotion that was neither romantic in a traditional sense nor fleeting. It was recognition, gratitude, admiration, and love wrapped into a quiet, mature understanding. They both leaned back slightly, the tension of years past easing into a calm that was almost sacred. And yet, the unspoken truths lingered, things they could feel but hadn't fully expressed. The night allowed them to be close without needing to articulate every word. A quiet acknowledgement that sometimes emotions are felt more deeply when they are shared in presence rather than speech. I think life gives us these moments, Evelyn whispered, almost to herself, where the world slows down just enough for us to notice what truly matters. And sometimes He living room felt unusually quiet that night. Outside, the drizzle had stopped, leaving the world washed clean under the soft glow of streetlights. Inside, Alex and Laura sat facing each other, the warm light casting gentle shadows that made the space feel intimate, yet still calm and safe. Alex had been talking about college depressures, the small victories and the mistakes that haunted him, but now his words faltered. The deeper feelings he had carried for years, emotions that had lingered in the quiet spaces between them, were surfacing. He could feel them. It's a gentle pulse of longing and gratitude that had grown stronger with each passing moment. Laura noticed the shift immediately. She saw it in the way his gaze lingered longer than usual. The quiet pause before he spoke, the subtle tremor of emotion he tried to mask. She felt her own heart tighten, not with romantic desire, but with recognition of the depth of their connection. Years of small kindnesses, shared stories, and quiet understanding had led to this moment. A night when unspoken feelings could no longer remain entirely hidden. Alex set his cup of tea down on the table, the soft clink sounding louder than it should have in the stillness of the room. He took a deep breath, gathering courage. Laura, he began, his voice low and earnest. I need to say something. I don't think I've ever said it out loud before. Not fully. But I think I've felt it for a long time. Laura's eyes softened, and she leaned slightly forward, attentive, encouraging him without speaking. I've always admired you, Alex continued, his words deliberate, each one carrying the weight of years. Not just for the things everyone sees, your warmth, your kindness, but for the little things no one notices. The way you make people feel seen, the way you listen without judgment, the way you've always made room for me in your life. He paused, feeling the emotional tension rise like a gentle swell. I've realized that these moments with you, even the small ones, have meant more to me than I can properly explain. And I guess I've been afraid to say it because I didn't want to change what we have. But tonight, being here, it feels like the right time, to be honest. Laura's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. Her eyes glistened faintly with emotion, reflecting the years of shared connection. Alex, she said softly, you don't have to explain anything. I've known for a long time that there's something unspoken between us. I've felt it too. Alex blinked, surprised. You have. She nodded, her expression calm but tender. Yes, I've always admired your heart, your sensitivity, the way you notice things others overlook. And I've cherished these quiet moments we've shared over the years. They've always meant something to me, even if I didn't say it out loud. The room felt suspended in time. Rain-soaked streets outside, soft lamplight around them, the years of unspoken understanding finally finding a voice. Alex felt a mix of relief, gratitude, and awe. He realized that what they shared wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It was about connection, honesty, and recognition. "You mean all this time," Alex said carefully, "these moments weren't just coincidence? That you felt it too?" Laura smiled, a gentle warmth in her gaze. "No, Alex. Life is too short for coincidences when it comes to the heart. Sometimes the connection is quiet, but it's there, and it shapes us in ways we can't ignore." Alex's chest felt lighter, though his emotions were intense. He leaned back slightly, processing the weight of the truth. "I think I've been carrying this for so long, unsure if it was okay to feel it. But now, knowing you feel the same way, it's more than I ever imagined." Laura reached for her tea and then set it down again, her movements deliberate, unhurried. "It's okay, Alex," she said gently. "What we feel doesn't have to fit a certain label or timeline. What matters is that it's real, honest, and meaningful, that we recognize it here and now." The emotional tension that had been building for years finally eased, replaced by a profound sense of understanding. There was longing, yes, but it was intertwined with respect, admiration, and quiet joy. This wasn't a declaration of romance in the conventional sense. It was an acknowledgement of something rare, a deep, emotional bond between two people who had been part of each other's lives in small but significant ways. Alex smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling as he felt the emotional weight lift. "I don't know what comes next," he admitted, "but I know this. Being here, talking like this, it feels like the most honest thing I've ever done." Laura nodded, her gaze steady and warm. "And that honesty, that's what makes it special. No matter what happens, we'll always have this understanding. And maybe that's enough for now." For a long moment, they simply sat together, the room enveloped in calm. No dramatic gestures, no loud confessions, just the quiet recognition of shared feelings, the turning point that had been years in the making. Alex realized that truth, once spoken, had a power unlike anything else. It didn't demand action, it didn't rush or pressure, it simply existed. And it was enough. And in that soft, unassuming moment, Alex and Laura both understood sometimes the turning point isn't about change. It's about recognition, honesty, and the courage to acknowledge what has always been there. The night had given them something rare, a shared truth, heartfelt and pure. That would shape how they saw each other forever. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the world outside glistening under the soft glow of streetlights. Alex and Laura remained in the living room, the quiet hum of the evening wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. There was no urgency now, no unspoken tension pressing in. The night had carried them to a place of understanding, and in its wake came clarity and calm. Alex leaned back in the chair, feeling the warmth of the room seep into him. He glanced at Laura, noticing the gentle lines of her face, the way her eyes carried both wisdom and kindness. The connection between them, once silent and almost invisible, now felt tangible, grounding, and entirely real. "I never imagined a night like this," Alex said softly, his voice reflecting wonder and gratitude. "I came here thinking it would just be dinner, but it turned out to be something else entirely." Laura smiled, a quiet, knowing smile that reached her eyes. "Sometimes life surprises us in the smallest ways," she said. "It's not always the big moments we remember, it's the ones where we're fully present, where we allow ourselves to feel and notice." Alex nodded, taking in her words. He realized that this night, ordinary in its setting but extraordinary in its emotional depth, had shifted something within him. He felt lighter, freer, as if a weight he hadn't fully understood had been lifted. And for Laura, there was the same sense of quiet fulfillment, of recognition that the bond they had built over years of small gestures and shared understanding had finally been acknowledged. The evening stretched gently. They talked of everyday things, upcoming plans for Jake, the books Alex had been reading, the projects Laura had taken up in the past year. Laughter flowed easily, warm and sincere, filling the spaces where hesitation had once lingered. There was a comfort in this rhythm, a sense that they could share both past memories and present moments without fear or pretense. At one point, Alex glanced at the window, noticing how the world outside seemed softer, calmer, and washed in gentle light. It's funny, he said, how a single evening can make you see everything differently, even places, even people you've known for years. Laura's gaze followed his, and she nodded thoughtfully. Yes, she replied. Sometimes it's not about changing the world around us, but about seeing it tanned each other with fresh eyes. That's when we realize what really matters. Alex felt a quiet surge of emotion, one that was neither dramatic nor overwhelming, but deeply moving. I understand now, he said, that what matters most is connection. The kind we've shared. The kind that doesn't need words but grows stronger in the quiet moments, in the understanding that we're not alone. Laura's expression softened, and she reached for her cup of tea, her fingers brushing the edge lightly before setting it down again. You've always understood more than you realize, Alex, she said. And now we both know that it's okay to appreciate it openly, to let it exist without complication. For a long moment, they simply sat together, basking in the calm of acknowledgement. There was no need for grand gestures or elaborate declarations. What they had was real, profound, and unshakable in its simplicity. It was a love of understanding, of respect, of shared history, and mutual admiration. It was the kind of connection that could endure quietly, steadily, and beautifully as the evening drew to a close. Alex rose to leave. He felt a gentle mix of gratitude and bittersweet warmth, knowing that this night would stay with him for years to come. Laura walked him to the door, their hands brushing lightly in a moment of simple familiarity. Thank you. Laura, Alex said, his voice filled with sincerity. For tonight, for everything. For letting me see and feel this. Laura's eyes glistened softly in the lamplight. Thank you, Alex, for being honest, for being here, for noticing the things that matter. They shared a quiet, meaningful hug, respectful and full of emotion. It was a hug that carried years of unspoken feelings, of shared understanding, and of a bond that would not fade with time as Alex stepped into the cool night air. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't realized he had been seeking. The streets, quiet and glistening from the rain, seemed to welcome him as if acknowledging the small but profound